Hey everyone, my name is Anders, and today we're going to go over the week's update for Black Desert and an overview of the developer stream we had last Friday. So on Friday, Perlibis made a sort of reaction stream with the developers to go over some updates coming to the game, but mostly as a way to explain the current situation with regards to the Asian Node War Championship. There were a lot of technical issues with the championship in the first place, which led to them having to initially cancel it, do like a stream, emergency stream to say sorry, but they worked some format details out with the participating guilds and they held a Node War Championship over the weekend. Now, apart from that topic, we got a lot of reactionary comments in the stream on several topics to do with BDO and the future of the game, so let's go over them. I wanted to wait till we had an official notice of these comments before making a video because at the time of this stream, the responses from the developers were sometimes extremely vague and didn't really give us an outline of what they are planning for some content updates. But after reading this note, it is clear that these are updates that could come in the future, but there is a heavy emphasis in basically taking all of this information I'm about to give you with a grain of salt. This is not like the other recent developer presentations where we have an idea that content discussed will be released fairly soon in Korea unless otherwise stated. So like I said, they mentioned the Asian Championship that is irrelevant to the majority of us. They said nothing on server stability for the game, so let's move on. A Gourd Bottle of Life is the new best in slot health potion that was introduced with Land of the Morning Light. This item allows you to heal for more than even the infinite potion, so they've decided that the idea of it being a silver sink for PvP players wasn't really a good idea. It makes it mandatory for serious PvP and it's not fun, so they will be removing it from the game. Elixirs and perfumes, truffle mushrooms can now be obtained at larger quantities. We know this. This is part of the alchemy buff patch we just got today. Party elixirs and normal elixirs will be consolidated into one, so normal elixirs will also affect party members. This will be okay if they adjust pricing to elixirs. Drafts will be revamped to act as an advanced elixir, so they won't overwrite your elixir rotation, which is interesting. They will also be looking into combining different drafts, and they're talking about adding an infinite elixir that you can grind for, I assume. They're also talking about revamping food and making it less confusing. One-side war declarations, they talked about this. Basically, nothing is changing in this regard. The mechanic is here to stay. PvP content, they talked about a little bit. War of the Roses, they said they want to increase the amount of players that can participate. But to me, that sounds like a terrible idea because Perlibis just had the Asia Championship where hundreds of players from regions that don't have perfect ping had to deal with what most people deal with on a daily and weekly basis: lag, latency, desync, crashing. It's not going to go well in NA and EU if they do this. They're also working on making it so less people who are chosen to do War of the Roses don't just stand AFK and take up a slot that otherwise would have been filled by an active player, which is a good idea. Arena of Solare practice mode will be available at all times. Ranked will still likely have seasons, but practice mode will be available 24/7. Rewards for PvP content like Node Wars, Arena of Solare, Red Battlefield, they're going to be improved, but not to the level where you feel forced to do it, so I would say don't expect huge boosts in income from these activities. The guild scoreboard while you're in war will be changed to a point system for each player, where a kill gains you 2 points and a death will gain you 1 point. So a person in war that has killed 5 people and died 30 times, they'll have 40 points, and the person who has 80 kills and 20 deaths will instead have 180 points. I don't know how well that's going to work. I would have liked to see a different layout personally, maybe something similar to Arena of Solare and not this point system. They will also add a notification to let you know as a player in the cannon team your cannons actually hit their target. That's a good change. For Monster Zone profits, they realize that low trash silver per hour spots with high value rare drops aren't really that good. Star's End is an example. So no rare drop means you make no money for that hour. New spots in Ulukita are also like that, so they're going to focus on these spots and make it so that you have a closer on average silver per hour compared to other more stable grind spots that don't rely on rare drops. These will be started after the class balance changes, so late November or so. They talked about crystals as well. They will increase the ways to obtain rare crystals, so if you lose it through grinding, you can, I guess, buy it more easily if the supply in the market increases, but again, no real details on what they mean by this or how they will implement this. For those looking for crystal protection or having crystals never break. That doesn't seem to be the way they want to go with this. Soft caps in PvE were talked about a little bit as well. They say soft caps in PvE have basically been solved with the introduction of Dekia grind spots, but they've also nerfed some Dekia spots that were too good. Class balance, we've talked about a little bit already. All classes except Succession Wusa, Succession Guardian, and Awakening Witch will be getting round 1 PvE buffs. We have the last batch of classes of round 1 buffs this week on test server. I'll make a larger video going over all of the round 1 buffs to every single class that got them later this week. Round 2 PvE buffs, those are going to be focused on more fundamental issues to classes like lack of protection, for example, not enough frontal guard, stamina issues, things like that. PvP balance will then start after the PvE buffs go live. So round 1 PvE buffs are set to go live in Korea November 8th, more than likely a week later for us since we have no date in the GM note and Korea does. So round 1 PvE buffs, that's the damage increase and the health on hit buffs for classes. Those are going to go live sometime in the middle of November, and the round 2 of buffs for just PvE will go live slowly over time after that, and that includes the PvP changes as well, I assume. They also talked about crash issues. The game's been crashing a lot more than normal lately. They're aware of an issue with the game files, are trying to figure it out, and will let us know when it is fixed. It's not like a normal issue apparently. Damage numbers, basically never gonna happen. On test server, yes. On live servers, no. Garmoth's Heart, they will eventually add a pity system for Garmoth. That's going to take some time to develop. They will increase the Garmoth's Heart price as well on the market in the meantime, and they will make the one-time quest a lot easier than it is right now. Liana's Toolbag improvements, other life skill related quality of life has been set back in terms of priority. They are still working on this, but more than likely we won't see anything until Calcium Ball, which was already confirmed, by the way, in the stream to be in December. We don't know what date exactly. They also confirmed there will be a more standard late night developer stream at the end of November going over upcoming content to the game. In terms of items, they are going to delete old useless items from the game, like usually quest items that you no longer need, and they will add a new function to search for rented items. Dark Rift, there will now only be 6 Dark Rifts, but you will still obtain the same amount of rewards. The Medalla and Valencia Dark Rifts will also be removed. Old Moon Grand Prix, which was the horse racing game, which no one basically does, that's going to get matchmaking. Yar, the card game, which believe it or not is really fun, it's just you don't get anything for it. That's going to get matchmaking as well, but after the Old Moon Grand Prix. Daily boss scrolls will now be a challenge reward instead of a Black Spirit quest to make it easier to obtain, but I think they really should buff the rewards on these as well so people actually want to do them. Lucky Arrow, the minigame, will get rewards buffed, but again, we don't know by how much or how they will do this. Adventure logs will be simplified to make it easier on new players. Again, I don't know what they mean by this because it is easy to do, it just takes a lot of time, but they said they basically don't want you to have to Google how to do this, so maybe it'll just be auto-pathing, who knows. Blackstones, at least the armor and weapon blackstones, are going to be combined into one item. That's a good idea. They will think about doing this with more items. I hope they do, because item bloat is a serious problem in this game. Ocean content, they may be adding Sailor Crew presets soon, which I appreciate. Altar of Blood, which was a really fun mode that was taking out to be revamped. I don't even know how long ago. It will one day be revamped. They just don't know when that's going to be. Field bosses will now share health across servers, meaning you can no longer server swap to live field bosses to get multiple loot drops. On the upside, you can now more easily kill these bosses at off hours without it taking a long time. I only ever really did these when there was an event, and frankly, I think the majority of players didn't even bother doing these unless there was an event, so hopefully that does help. And they said they will also buff rewards, and that's all they talked about. I think the stream was 3 hours long, so it's a lot of back and forth with the Korean chat and them answering questions. Like I said, a lot of this stream was developers saying they are thinking about implementing so-and-so, so take everything with a grain of salt. This was more of a reactionary stream to let players know, listen, we're sorry about the terrible state of the event, here's how we're trying to do better, and that was the gist of the stream. I think some ideas are good, others clearly are early stages, so until I see a test server patch and then a Korean patch showing definitive changes, I'm not really going to worry too much about it. At the end of this month, we do have a developer stream, like I said, showing most likely the last Ulukita Burrito Grind Zone, and then next month we have the Calcium Ball, where we will see a new class, a slew of upcoming content for the game. I think the PvE class balance changes are absolutely good, though I wish we were getting round 2 PvE buffs sooner because those are more fundamental changes, which will hopefully be more impactful for some classes that need it. So that's the GM note. Let's talk about the update today really quickly before I leave you. The alchemy buffs I laid out completely in my last video. We have the Masterpiece Manor Furniture items added if you have completed some treasure items. Density increases in Valencia grind spots, the lower level ones, so Fogans, Nagas, Pilaku, Sulfur, those, not Hystria or Akhman. We have some grind spot improvements where they removed some objects that could make it annoying to grind around. They've added the revamped Crystal UI, which looks really good, but we also have some new events. The Whimsical Shy event has a quest from a random Shy that will appear. You can do this once per family and you will get a temporary life tome that will grant you some bonuses, 20% more life XP, 200 LT, and 50 life mastery. You can also consume 3 energy while talking to this Shy to obtain an hour-long buff that will grant you a gathering speed buff and gathering item drop rate buff. You will also get an item that can give you some traces and fruits. On top of this, there is a life XP buff of 50% until the end of the month and an event token you can get while gathering. This will allow you to exchange it for some items like base Manos accessories, crons, or contribution XP. You will also get a Stella's toolbox when logging in. The rate at which the gathering minigame will occur will also be increased during this event. There's also a special login reward calendar and a 500% XP buff, 200% skill XP buff, and 50% drop rate buff for the next week to celebrate the Asian Championship. SEA region and Thailand, I believe, will have the 1000% XP buff for winning the most matches as far as I'm aware. And that's it for this one. Let me know your thoughts about the events that we have right now and the ideas that the developers have for the game. Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.